our continued campaign to celebrate the women who have led the way, I'm very, very pleased to introduce to you right now SUPERCOP, who had once in her career challan'd the Prime Minister's car, who went on to reform prisons in India like never before, then stepped into politics and is now the Lieutenant Governor of Puducherry. Really a trailblazer, Ms. Kiran Bedi. Ms. Bedi, good evening and many, many thanks for giving us time here on Mirror Now. First of all, happy Women's Day to you. You did say, of course, at one point that you were born in the 50s and the 50s belonged to the boys. It didn't belong to the girls. When you look at India right now, have things changed very drastically since then? And how did you change the path at that point in an India that didn't belong to girls?
Faye, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me. I've been admiring your panel discussions. So you have a fan in me for you. And thank you for reminding me what I said. Yes, 50s did belong to the boys, but now it belongs to the boys and the girls. I do believe there is a large section of society, large section population of women to whom this India belongs to today. Belongs to, provided they capture it, provided they grab it, provided they understand the available opportunities, whereas others need to be handheld still. So what was in 50s is not the same it is in 2019. Things are very different. Amount of schemes which are being, the kind of attention girls are getting, the enrollment in the schools, the skills development programs, I think are enormous. Nothing, and the kind of variety of jobs, professions which are available, the careers open, the online businesses they can do. I think the opportunities are enormous now, provided they grab them and understand them, and somebody probably helps them get on the track.
Ms. Bedi, at that time, choosing to do the IPS and join the police service was obviously not an easy path, and it was not a normal path for a young woman. There were very few careers that were considered, appropriate for a woman, maybe teaching, maybe air hostess or a secretary. You chose to become a policewoman. Why?
That was my upbringing. I was nurtured very beautifully. I wish every woman, every child gets the kind of parents I had, both mother and father, and my schooling, my teachers, my environment at home. I was an NCC cadet. I was a tennis champion. I was a national junior champion. I was playing around the country, traveling by myself at the age of 14. So the way I was brought up, I was belonging to a tennis playing family. I think ours was the first family where the whole family was on the court all over the country, because daddy was a tennis player. Mother was to be part of the tennis. So being a sports family, then college NCC, and then academics, very strong, very supportive college and education. I'm actually a very strong product of available opportunities which I was given. But the good thing is that I recognized that these were exceptional, and I was one of the very few who was having these kind of opportunities. I didn't let them go. I worked very hard and I built on them. From the age I remember, from the age of 9, I used to practice running behind my daddy's motorcycle. At the age of 8, 9, I was preparing for tennis. And that's why I won the national juniors at the age of 14. So what I'm saying is, I was a natural progression. For me, policing was a natural progression. In fact, I'm so happy that I stuck to the progression. If I deviated, I would have lost all that. But I had this wisdom not to have gone it, and that was my vision, that aspiration was to be self-reliant.
Yes. Well, Ms. Bedi, obviously, you did also say that as a policewoman or as a police person, you had the power to prevent and not just the power to punish. But you did punish. You challan'd from, what I read, Indira Gandhi's car in Delhi at one point, and you didn't spare any of the VIPs who were parked in the wrong place. And at that point, you were a very young IPS officer. How did you stand up to the politicians in Delhi who normally have their way?
Faye, punishment is also a mode of prevention. When you take on the big fish, the small fish is taken care of. So when you punish a big fish, you have dealt with all the small fish. So when you punish a VIP, you and make an example out of them, everything else falls in place. On the contrary, when you let the big fish go and only go after the small fish, you do not know where to begin and where to end. So in fact, picking up the VIP correctly and teaching them the message of law is the best thing, because then it sends the most powerful message. So I never lost an opportunity where I could send a stronger message with minimum effort.
Absolutely. And then, of course, in your own words, they pushed you into prison duty because they wanted you out of the way. You were making too many people uncomfortable, but you managed, to turn that prison duty around to something path-breaking. But I want to understand this, as a woman walking into that prison, which is basically housing criminals that some of whom you helped put away. Obviously, even from the jailers who were reporting to you, they would have turned around and said, how can a woman do this job? How can a woman possibly run a men's jail? This is impossible. This can't be done. Did you hear any of that? And what was your reaction?
Faye, I entered the Indian prison system with a formidable reputation. I'd held the gangsters. I'd sent them to prison. I was not afraid of them. And the rule of law was my mantra. And as you also mentioned, the prosecution or challan'd of the Prime Minister's car, nothing came in my way. So I did enter that. You see, your reputation precedes you. So it helped me proceed, and they were probably thinking that I'll now come and teach them all a lesson. But that was not to teach them a lesson. They were already in the prison, taught a lesson. They'd already been denied freedom. It is now time to teach them a lesson so that they do not come back to the prison. See, the purpose changed. The purpose as a police officer was to teach them a lesson to send them to prison. Now as a prison guardian, now the message was treat them in such a way that they do not go back and come back to the prison again and again. So they go back but don't come back. So the purpose of every place has to be identified, and that is what a situational leadership is all about.
Well, I do want to ask you this. When we are talking about confrontation, your tenure right now as Lieutenant Governor has been met with a fair amount of confrontation. Do you see that as an extension of the battles you've had to fight your entire life? Is this battle right now different from the other challenges you have faced?
Yes, the scale is different, because here I am directly dealing with the Honorable Chief Minister. I think it's a perspective. The perspective is these people were used to having a rubber stamp. Somebody who would endorse a file, not just clear the file as it comes, despite the Lieutenant Governor's responsibility. That's why I'm not a governor. I'm termed as Lieutenant Governor, and as an administrator who's got the full responsibility of the entire management of Consolidated Fund of India as far as pondicherry is concerned. The accounts, the financial powers, the service matters, all these are with me. Now, how do I just clear the file as it comes? So earlier, if they had, this is their problem. I am a reader of files. I apply the rule. And I am not an extravagant. I believe in ensuring that the money is spent correctly, and it is meant, and it's not diverted, and that it goes for the purpose it is meant. So there is certainly a conflict of perspective. What they expected of a Lieutenant Governor to be, and what I expect a Lieutenant Governor to be as per the laid down rules. So I think it had to be. This is inherent, because it suits the powers that be to have pliable endorser administrators. It doesn't suit me. So I'm there to fulfill a purpose. I have a responsibility, and I'm auditable. I enjoy no immunity as a Lieutenant Governor. I'm accountable for every decision that I take.
Ms. Bedi, one last question. I remember reading somewhere that you were invited to breakfast by Indira Gandhi when she was impressed with seeing you march at the parade. If I may ask, and if you're willing to share, what did you talk about with Indira Gandhi at breakfast?
Oh, I was an admirer of her. I used to love the way she used to conduct herself, the way she spoke, the way she was connecting with the people, the way she was communicating, the way she carried herself. I, as a child, as I'm growing up, watching her, and I was listening to her, she actually inspired me. And I learned a lot from her. I was listening to her. I was observing her, her dignified manner, politics apart. It was the manner in which she carried herself as a woman inspired me. And the fact that she invited, so large-hearted, when she loved the fact when I saluted her on the 26th of January 1975, instantly called me for the breakfast. And it was like a motherly affection and being proud of the fact that India has a first woman in the Indian police service. And it didn't stop at breakfast. Thereafter, she used to invite me for many other events like Prince Charles' visit. So I became a part of her, that get-togethers as a network where she would show, say, so India has one of the finest, senior most woman in the Indian police service, which nobody in the world, nowhere in police services at that time in 1975, 76, 78, 80 had deputy commissioners of police anywhere, even in the Western democracies. India was far ahead in time. So I think she was very proud of the fact to say, look, we have equal opportunities. It's just a matter of who gets in.
Ms. Bedi, obviously, you were the first IPS, woman IPS officer in India. Now we have several others who followed in the path that you opened up. Ms. Indira Gandhi was the first woman Prime Minister, but the only one we've ever had. Do you think India is ready for another one? Another woman Prime Minister?
India would be ready for any leader who would have the right vision. I don't think India at the moment will distinguish between a man or a woman. India is looking for the right leadership, which takes India towards a destiny, towards a path which benefits all. India is looking for credible, authentic, dynamic, energetic, progressive, developing leadership. India is not looking at a man or a woman. India is looking at the right leadership, who may happen to be a woman, who may happen to be a man. India is no more this way that we want a woman or a man. That may be an issue somewhere else in the Western democracies.
Yes.
But
well,
India
I have a quick question for you, if I may. Most of the national parties, including the Bharatiya Janata Party, the BJP, don't have ICCs or internal complaints committees as per the law for sexual harassment, which they're supposed to have. Do you believe that political parties, before they contest the upcoming elections, must ensure that they are compliant with the Vishaka guidelines and they create safe working spaces for women?
I 100% agree with you. Why should nobody is above the law? Everybody is below the law. And every office, every party, everywhere, you need to be complying with Vishaka judgment. Why not?
Absolutely. Very well said. Ms. Bedi, many thanks for spending time with us here on Mirror Now and sharing your experience. I'm sure, like many of us who grew up watching you trailblaze and start that path for the women who came after you, there will be many young women right now, young girls, who are seeing this on television and realizing that if you try hard enough and if you work hard enough, anything is possible. You can be anything. Thanks for watching.